It's always low-income communities that are going to be hit the hardest by things like tariffs and inflations. And the businesses that these communities often rely on are going to be the first ones to be hit by tariffs and inflation. And the fact is, low-income communities, diverse communities, they usually have the lowest levels of investment. And you can blame that on crime, whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Still, there's a lack of resources in these communities. And one of the only businesses that really sticks it out and stays in these communities, these small towns, not just, everyone just thinks it's the hood, but no, the small towns, right? Little tiny towns like Bridgeville, Delaware, a town I used to work in, maybe 100 people. The Dollar General. The Dollar General is there. The Dollar General is the only real convenience store that thousands of communities across this country have within the entire town. That and a gas station. And, you know, because of inflation, because of the tariffs, a lot of Dollar Generals are going to be shut down this summer, because the fact is, with the cost of rent going up, the cost of goods coming up, and lower foot traffic because people just can't afford to go out and buy stuff, these lifelines of support, which is what Dollar General is to a lot of communities, are a threat. And not just that, but there's a boycott going on because of Dollar General rolling back some of its DEI initiatives in its corporate structure. But like I said, this isn't about that. This is about the Dollar General in general. The Dollar General, like I said, is so important. If you are poor, if you don't have much money, right? If you're in a community where Walmart's far away, like I used to live in a town, we had a small grocery store, and other than that, we're talking about Wyoming, the closest Walmart was 100 miles away. I'm not kidding, 98 miles away, right? There's thousands of communities out there that rely on the Dollar General because local convenience stores are often much more expensive. And you're talking about areas where average income is far lower than the national median. So they rely on cheap stores like Dollar General to make sure that they have food in the pantry, because Dollar General is more than just going in and getting a bag of Cheetos and a blunt wrap. It just is. It is a convenience store, and it offers the odd ends that a lot of people have a hard time finding anywhere close because they'd have to commute. And not everyone has that. Like I said, on this channel in general, we talk about kind of what hits poor people the hardest, the working class, right? The working poor. And this affects them because Dollar General is the store. Like I said, go to any impoverished community and what are you going to find? You're going to find a Dollar General. They're just there. It's an institution. It is a fixture of the local economy. And what happens if it goes? Because while you may not think so, and yeah, the food ain't exactly healthy there, let's be honest, but they do have groceries. And there are people who do their grocery shopping there. And they do accept food stamps. They do accept WIC. They accept people. People who are often priced out of going to other larger retail stores. People who go to Dollar General typically aren't going to be the people who are going to Whole Foods, and Whole Foods is doing fine. Like I said, I grew up going to Dollar General, and of course Family Dollar is another one. You know, these are just, they're the only options for some people. And because of tariffs and inflation, the cost of rent's going up. And it's not just hitting businesses like Dollar General and Family Dollar, but also Goodwill and thrift stores. That's why I always say that these tariffs and inflation, raising the debt ceiling so we can print more, this is always an attack on the working poor of America. And I will continue to say that because it literally is. Because a lot of these stores have to compensate by raising their prices or just going out of business. And that's one of the reasons why you're seeing places like Goodwill go out of business all over the country, or their price is going up so high that people might as well just go to a normal department store. And that wasn't always the case, and that's not what they're supposed to be. Dollar General, Family Dollar, Goodwill, they serve a particular market. And that market is those of low income, the working poor and the working class. And if you've ever been in a time of hardship, you're always able to go to the Goodwill and find some clothes if you need to. You know, if you're broke and you have a baby, you can always go and find something there. You can always go to Family Dollar and Dollar General and find exactly what you need. But when these are gone, what options do you have? And with the rolling back and restrictions that are being placed on a lot of the food assistance out there, like I said, it puts people in a real hard spot. And that's what we need to be aware of, because this whole thing is predatory and it's designed to make you do one thing. When you don't have the option to have food assistance, when you don't have the option to have products that you can actually afford, what do you have to do? You take out loans. You go in debt. You do a cash out refinance on your home. Something like that. Something that increases your household debt. And it's all by design. It's gross, it's predatory, and it's something that our nation has grown to rely on. It is just built into our system now. And that's why we're seeing a lot of these options for low-income people, low-income households start to go away, because they serve a purpose, and that purpose gets in the way of debt institutions. Is it a conspiracy theory? Maybe. Maybe it is, but it's so obvious that this is the consequence that it has to be planned out. Because it's either that or it's just abject cruelty on the American people to force inflation, to enforce the cost of products, the cost of life, the cost of survival, to go up to the point where a lot of these last lifelines to low-income communities have to leave the community. And that's what we're going to see. Like I said, hundreds of stores, hundreds of Dollar Generals that serve low-income communities, small towns, rural areas, all over the country are going to be shuttering this summer, leaving them with nothing. No options but higher priced products at larger chain stores. That's all that it is. Like I said, I think it's a real shame, and it's a real disservice to our country and our population that we ignore. This is kind of just a casualty of doing business, because these places are economic sacrifice zones, and they are often food deserts as well. So another consequence of this, of course, is that people's health will suffer. And getting rid of Medicare and Medicaid, taking away people's access to health care, on top of getting rid of these places and getting rid of food assistance and Section 8. Is there any other goal than either putting people in debt or making them homeless? Because at this point, I don't really know if there seems to be one. And I know it does seem to be a bit dark, but it's just the situation that our people in this country are in. And I know the economy has been going bad for quite some time, but it really seems to be hitting hard now, because people have just been on the edge for what seems like a lifetime now, where the cost of living and people's incomes are just well within that margin. It's just perfectly there. And the cost of living just going up just a little bit just leaves people behind. And that's what it feels like. The American people have been left behind to go poor, because people who are left behind are often easy prey for debt institution, payday loans, high interest credit cards. And with the lack of financial education that our school gives people, it's easy for people to fall into these pits, and it's bad. That's why I say do what we have to do to keep the Dollar General, the dollar store, Family Dollar, these institutions that service low-income communities, do everything we can to keep them alive and thriving, because they play a role. Because guess what? When they go, Whole Foods isn't moving in. Albertsons isn't moving in. We've been seeing it for years now as grocery stores start to leave, more challenged communities. And of course, crime and theft is part of that. But at the same time, you're going to see more theft as the cost of living continues to go up and people don't really have a choice. It becomes normalized to steal things because it's just a necessity. Necessity will easily drive out morality when it comes to the choices that people make for their families. We want to move in a better direction, right, guys? We really want to, but I don't know. I want to get outside and start walking, but by God, it's just right before we hit this road trip and get out there, it's just rainy and chilly and giving us everything it possibly can before we hit the beach. So, guys, if you're still here, and girls, if you're still here at this point, like and subscribe. Think about becoming a member. We appreciate you as always. Thank you for the support. If you want to talk to us directly, honestly, just sending a tip or a thanks is the easiest way to do that. We definitely see it. But again, thank you for stopping by, and we hope you have a good one.